What are some huge green flags that are often overlooked? People doing kind or generous things they don't expect praise for, like secret gifts or acts of service. When someone is quick to give credit and slow to place blame, such a great sign that someone will celebrate other people and acknowledge them, and will be really kind and benevolent when something bad happens. That the person is actually listening to you. When they show genuine interest in you or what you're doing, they listen to you go on and on about shit they don't care about and don't understand because they know you enjoy talking about it. My boyfriend will sometimes be upset and start a sentence with "well you!" and then takes a second and starts over with "I feel." I notice every time and I try and be the same way. When you're talking with someone and they remember what you're talking about or were talking about at one point. Another one is when they remember that you've done certain things with them and bring it up from time to time. Other than that, it's the normal stuff that shouldn't be overlooked, or the little things, I guess. Good communication. If you can communicate really well with someone, that is huge. Quality communication between two people can be way more important in a relationship than compatibility and is huge part of good chemistry. For example, one of my friends has gone on a couple dates with this one girl, and the first date they talked for 3 hours and the second date they talked for 4 hours. But he's not sure if he wants to see this girl again. Like what? General mindfulness. The little things you don't really notice if you don't pay attention. Pushing a chair in after sitting in it. Asking questions and being involved with you. You can learn a lot about somebody by paying attention to how they listen. And having a partner that listens is an absolutely amazing feeling. There is a huge gap between being aware of what you're saying and understanding what you're saying. A good listener is priceless. When someone admits to their mistake, owning up to it and does not make an excuse for failing, but trying to better themselves through that experience. Being positive about it. When they don't make you feel guilty for occasionally wanting to do things by yourself. Complimenting others behind their backs. Someone reading a book you recommend. That's commitment of free time and respect for your word. Learns the small things about you. My boyfriend remembered my shoe size after mentioning it one time in some random conversation with someone else. When my shoes started falling apart, he just showed up with a new pair. Also, having remembered that my favorites are black on black Chucks, another random conversation about never being able to find what I like at Ross. He also bought me a new pair when I complained about my feet hurting. Wasn't even due to my shoes really. Just a result of working 16 hours a day. He knew my dress size and surprised me with a couple really nice ones. It's also just really nice that he knows my style and tastes. Everything he has bought me has fit perfectly and I think they're stunning. I was with my ex for 4 years, and when he surprised me with a new pair of shoes over 3 years in, I was kind of shocked at how not me they were. The guy had known me for 13 years altogether and I was like, seriously, have you ever seen me in white sneakers? He bought me things he would have liked me to wear, not things that I would like. I was totally appreciative of the ex buying me shoes, even if they were something I would never buy for myself. I really didn't even say anything to him about them other than to thank him and tell him how sweet it was. Admitting when they don't understand something and asking questions about it until they do. A few years ago I was at a party with a friend of mine, and another friend of a friend who is a physicist who worked for a startup that produced specialized magnets for quantum computing. My friend asked the startup guy about his work, and he explained it, and everybody else in the room just nodded and acted like they knew what he was talking about. But she said, "I don't understand. Can you explain that a different way?" And he did. And then she kept asking questions for quite a while, and by the end of it we actually all did understand what his company did instead of just being polite and pretending we did. And it was super interesting. A couple of people thanked her afterward basically for having the self-confidence to admit she didn't have any clue what he was talking about and not being afraid it would make her look dumb, because the rest of us were all content to pretend we knew instead of actually taking the initiative to find out. I respected her so much for that. When someone can admit they're wrong. Giving people the benefit of the doubt, and not being so quick to hate and hold grudges. One mistake or one bad day does not define a person. Honesty early on. When my husband and I started dating, I told him how much I wanted to see a certain movie, and for one of our first dates, he invited me over to watch said movie, and said he'd make dinner for me. I was a little nervous to go, because I figured he'd meant watch a movie. I get inside, he's got pasta cooking, and the movie is all set up and ready on his TV. We ate terrible pasta, watched a movie, and that was the day I decided to keep seeing him but that I'd do the cooking. Treating people you don't have to treat respectfully. With respect. I'm currently an Uber Eats driver and I've found the huge contrast in the manner hospitality staff treat me when I'm picking up orders, compared to when I'm a customer. It seems because I'm not a paying customer, service staff seem to think it's okay to treat me like shit or a lesser individual. Being okay to tell you that they're nervous or scared. If a guy tells me he's either nervous or scared of something, it usually means that they liked her enough to be vulnerable and open up about how they feel. Usually guys get made fun of for being nervous and even more so for being scared, but I see it as a total green flag. I'm very glad I found this thread. It's helping break the rose-colored glasses for certain people in my life. Asking you how you're doing, feeling. It was weird for me to go from a moderately abusive man and not even being bothered by it. It was normal to an amazing man, my husband. He asks me how I am, and genuinely wants to know. It's done my mental health wonders to know that he actually cares about me, and it's the smallest thing he could possibly do. And, since he's also a Redditor, husband, if you're reading this, I love you. When you're not afraid to disagree with them, because you know they'll actually listen rather than just hurting you. One of the first things I realized about my now husband was that he never gossiped. Like he just never has anything mean to say about people. It really helped me stop being such a gossip over the years. Pushing a chair in at a public establishment when you leave. Putting the used grocery cart back where it's supposed to go. Asking if you ate today. I know it's super simple, but it shows they genuinely care about you and want you to know you're happy and have a full belly, or they're planning on eating you. It's a 50-50. Cleaning up after themselves in public when no one is looking. I never realized what I was missing until I got with my current girlfriend. It's being able to talk about bad stuff. I had a breakdown and apologized for it. The first thing she told me is to please never apologize for feeling bad. It was such a special thing for me, and when I told people about this, they told me this is how it's supposed to be. Being able to feel bad and not be afraid they'll be any less in love with you because of it. My very first silver. I feel honored. Tilda. Using that weird flashy light on your car before you merge or turn. Drive a BMW. Don't think it has this feature. Care to elaborate? Treating people in services jobs as equals. Putting their rubbish in the bin when they leave a place like Macca's, Hungry Jack's, KFC, fast food places. Like honestly, a child knows how to put their rubbish in the bin. Why are you leaving your rubbish everywhere if you're a grown adult? Taking initiative, aka not being the person in the group assignment that does nothing. Respecting boundaries without being told to respect them. The friendly guy having a normal conversation with you is often the better bet than the guy who is hitting on you. Smiling when you make eye contact with people briefly, then you mutually smile back. Some old guy said hey to me while we were passing. That was just magical. Makes me want to do that myself. If you live with people, being nice to your roommates. Potential partners, hookups have some incentive to be nice to your friends, because they know you'll probably listen to your friends if they tell you your partner sucks. But a roommate might not have that much influence over you, so a person who's just faking being considerate might drop the act around them. When we were still casually dating, my now boyfriend brought my roommates snacks just because. Always checked if we were watching the TV too loud, etc. And years later he's still one of the most considerate people I know. Being polite and friendly when they see their exes. Even better. Being polite and friendly with the ex they share parenting with. I've seen way too many people shit talk the other parent in front of their kids. Being polite to waiters, bartenders, cashiers, etc. How they treat ex-partners although they exes did them wrong. No feelings of wanting revenge. One of the reasons I decided to move in with my now boyfriend. This isn't about shit-talking in private. That's emotional and understandable if something nasty happened. This is about what the person decides to focus on then, and if they deliberately try to destroy and ruin their ex's life. Threatening and stalking and just trying everything to make it extra hard when they just want to move on. And I think this says a lot about a person in general and about how they deal with rejection and failure. When you can be together without interacting. For example, my boyfriend and I love hanging out together and watching anime. But when we see one another, it's also enjoyable to know they're with you, but you can do your own thing and still enjoy their company. Perhaps you both scroll through Reddit and pause to show a funny meme to each other. In that scenario, you're just calmly relaxing and enjoying their presence. How they treat elderly people. When someone takes care of themselves emotionally during difficult discussions rather than reacting and personalizing what you've said, this requires a strong ego, and it's honestly rare. If someone can do this, keep them. My 8-year-old saw a shopping cart someone left in a handicapped parking spot and was upset and commented on how rude that was, and what if someone who couldn't walk couldn't park there now. We parked and she walked to the shopping cart and walked it back to the store. I'd say that's a big proud green flag for me. I love her. Taking care of you in small ways without thinking about it. Like, yeah, it's a no-brainer to take care of someone who's sick. You bring them cough drops and chicken noodle soup. The whole thing, but the things that matter to you as an individual, and they don't even notice that they care about it, is a big green flag. Example 1. I have a skin picking compulsion and I was obsessing over my skin while on the way to the store. He doesn't usually say anything about it or notice me acting up, but this time he did and said, "Bunixie, stop. Your skin is fine." And when I kept looking at it, he just casually closed the mirror and kept driving. Like it wasn't any big thing to him. Just something that needed to be fixed. Example 2. I was screaming at him cause he was about to mess up my wet nails. It was playful, but I still screamed bloody murder cause I worked hard on my nails. He kept trying to touch them and was tickling me. He said, "Bunixie, you're gonna hurt your voice." And was actually genuinely concerned. I'm a vocalist and he knows how much singing means to me, but I didn't realize he cared like that. When someone interrupts you and they say to you, "What were you about to say?" after the snag that interrupted you is finished. I'm blind, so all the flags are just black. I was told many years ago that when you're on a date with someone and you bring them to your vehicle and let them in the passenger side door, if they lean over and unlock the driver's side door for you, it means they actually care about you. This was of course before automatic door locks were made standard in most cars. I had a guy try this on a date when I was a teenager. I didn't touch the lock until he came around and unlocked it, at which point I quietly locked it again. I don't think I've ever seen someone laugh so hard. Someone who's meticulously careful with a borrowed possession and returns it in pristine condition. Too many people have a cavalier attitude and just presume it's a frivolity, but this solicitous person is grateful and returns it punctually because they know it's their implicit obligation. They care about how you'd feel if something was returned damaged. Kindness to others and helpfulness. Bangladesh. Being honest and vulnerable, especially in men. Not gossiping about your relationship to other people. I realized how lucky I was that despite whatever problems we were going through, he would never talk shit to our friends. I had a harder time, and would often vent to my girlfriends. But it made me realize maybe I could be a little more private. The number one with my second and current husband, and in sharp contrast to my first husband, was, when there is a problem, his response is not to determine who to blame, but rather is to find a solution to the problem. We have been together for several years and have yet to have an argument. This is something we are trying to teach my kids, who grew up under the impression that all disagreements must become arguments, and the solution to a problem is to point the blame at someone. I noticed once I got into my 30s that all my friends would break up over green flags. Oh, she was doing my dishes. Like, bitch, back off. He was just always asking me how I was doing and trying to be deep. So annoying. She just was too something. I don't know. She got me a birthday card and said I love you. He kept trying to see me every week. Then when I said no, he didn't call me for a whole week. She wanted to date. But she said she also was focused on working 5 days a week. I need a commitment. To me. He kept trying to see me every week. Then when I said no, he didn't call me for a whole week. Wait, are you telling me he was affectionate and when you put up boundaries he respected them? What a nut job.